Yep, I see the math now. Yep.
That is kind of a survey that you did yourself. So how prominent was this issue when you were discussing with businesses and different organizations about this issue?
Oh, it's something that businesses want. It makes sense and it's clearer, because if you take that point, this is about costs to business and the balance of getting that fairness right in the system between an entitlement to sick leave for employees versus the cost to a business for the time that someone may actually be working versus how much they can take off. But it's also fairness for other employees. You know, if you've got somebody who is working a full week but gets the same time off for sick leave that someone is working part-time, I'd say there are a lot of employees out there who never knew that their part-time workers were entitled to that and don't think it's fair that the entitlement is the same.
Okay. I'd like to sit there and say, Brooke, a lot more people probably know that. Maybe you didn't know that, but stop generalising what you didn't know as if everyone who works part-time and full-time didn't know that. Because I can tell you right now, you know, every single workplace I worked at, everyone knew about an outer point 5 days a week. Now it's 10 days. It was 5 days at the point in the workplaces. Everyone knew that. Whether you're part-time, full-time, you got 5 days sick leave a year. No one gave a damn. You know, you're making it out. It's the, oh, but what about me? You know, maybe you need to sit down there and have a job in the real world. Maybe run a business. Maybe file a GST return, a PAYE return, be a payroll clerk. You know, get some real world experience behind you, because as a minister at the moment, you go based on vibes, based on a, you know, fantasy land of a utopia of, you know, the worst case scenario, not the general workings of what happens in a normal workplace. And actually, here's something worth noting. Before we go there, when I worked for BP, both in our individual employment agreements and our equivalent CEAs, we didn't get 5 days sick leave a year, we got 8. I don't know why we got 8, because on a 5-day week, that's only 1.5 weeks. But we had 8 in our employment agreement. Now that would be handy for part-time employees, you know, who may only work, and in BP, your class part-time if you worked 32 hours a week, your class is a part-timer, not a full-timer. You're on mute, Laura. Or something's gone mute. Yeah, no, we're not hearing anything at the moment. Let's see if that can sit there and refresh the connection. Okay, I think Laura's having to reboot. So let's hear a bit more from Brooke while we're waiting for Laura to come back in.
Yeah, I'm going to take a final sup for Tano, and then we're going to move on.
Actually, mine was a primary, but I can take a sup if
oh, happy. Well, I'll give you the primary, and then Jan can have hers after. I'm sure she's.
That's fine.
Yeah, fire away, Tano.
Yeah, my primary is around you're putting forward like a myriad of different changes, like a lot. And so what I want to know is the work that you're doing to actually monitor the impact of these changes that you're putting in. Because when I talk to workers, some of them are, I'll be honest with you, they're getting fed up and they're thinking about leaving the country. And so what work are you doing to measure the impact of all of these different changes, from your changes in health and safety to the pastoral strikes and so on and so forth on the workforce? And if you could actually talk to that work in particular, how it actually impacts workers. So we hear a lot from the minister in terms of the impact on business and clients and so on and so forth. But what about the workers? So if the minister can answer that I would be grateful.
Oh, thank you for the question. Look, at the heart of a lot of the reforms that I'm doing, it's about building business confidence so that businesses have a greater confidence to hire more employees with higher wages and with better jobs. That's why we're doing a lot of our reforms, because we do want to boost our economy, and that in part flows into workers, where workers have more jobs, they have more opportunities, And one of the ways that we can, over time, measure the outcome of these reforms is whether business confidence is leading to more employment opportunities around the country and whether or not people have more jobs to go to. The other way that we can measure some of these reforms is actually through WorkSafe's own data that they will keep collecting. And I'm sure you're able to touch on that at a later point with WorkSafe, but they do collect statistics on their prosecutions, on the guidance, how many inspector visits and things that they do. We could potentially use ACC data in the future as well. But by and large, my reforms are to boost business confidence. And so I'd hope to look at business confidence statistics as well.
Business confusion, more like.
Because business confidence will lead to better outcomes for workers and more job opportunities.
There's an assumption, but my question was around the work that you actually got and trained. You've got a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of balls up in the air. What are you doing to actually monitor and analyse whether the impacts that are happening? And I didn't hear in your answer anything around the particular impacts on workers themselves. What are you going to do to stop workers from sort of just jumping on a plane and going over to Australia or wherever else where they get better work conditions? Those are the sorts of impacts that I think it's fair to have an expectation that will be measured by you in your office. If you could elaborate on that, that would be good.
I think those things are kind of all tied in together. Like you're talking about people getting on a plane and going overseas. There's so many other factors across government that feed into it.
Yeah, and I want to know what your work program is to measure that.
Can we let the minister finish, please, Tana?
Yeah, like if someone doesn't feel like they have the opportunity to buy a home in New Zealand, or they feel they're unsafe on the streets, or they feel like their job opportunities are not wide enough, there are many factors that could fit into someone leaving New Zealand. I don't want people to leave New Zealand.
Or they feel that they're being underpaid.
I want people from my generation to stay here. And it's just frustrating to me that younger people do not feel in some ways that they have as many opportunities as older generations. And I want my friends to come home so that they can contribute to our economy and raise their children in New Zealand. But if I look at some of the things that are happening across government, I think we are going to see that flow through to people wanting to stay here. But we have to get those settings right. And those settings do take time. People are still feeling the effect of the last government. They don't feel as safe, but we're seeing safety improve. We're seeing some of the changes to the Resource Management Act and changes to house prices, and those things will improve as well. But it is relevant to the question. And with the labour market settings that I am underpinning to make more flexible labour markets, we will see greater job opportunities for Kiwis. And if you think of some of the things like the personal grievance settings, if we make it easier for businesses to be able to hire and fire, there are far more job opportunities for young New Zealanders, so they don't feel like they need to leave New Zealand.
Thank you. Tana, have you got?
I mean, that's a great one to sit there and go hire and fire people. But like the fact is here, do you want to sit down there and have people go willy-nilly hire and fire? That does not help boost young person's morale. It will sit down there and go, well, this boss fired me, so all bosses are assholes. And then they'll probably go to Australia. Because you are sitting down there and enabling I'm an asshole employer to get over there. I mean, put it this way. If I was your boss right now, Brooke, you need to go on a performance improvement plan because you aren't doing your job properly.
I think I need. How's my sound working now, guys?
We can hear you a hell of a lot better.
Okay, great. Because I think my brain and my computer also need to go on one of those adventures. Sam, sick leave. Right. I was looking up on sick leave, and I should have looked more into sick leave before commenting, because then everything would have made a lot more sense.
I mean, we dedicated 2 hours to this to Brooke. At the rate we're going, 2 hours so far. And now we've lost Laura again. You're not hitting a key in there, or is there some driver that's in there doing that? Okay, we'll get to more